A squat and row, one of my favorite ways to sort of start things off and tie the body together. Taking advantage of just the bungee aspect, I'm going to move right into an alternating row with a squat pattern. And basically we're looking to take advantage of that housing a little bit, start to get some resistance and a little bit of that body fight where I'm working against myself. After a little bit of a pause, resetting with one of the double version, moving right into a curl iso squat pattern. So here I'm using the biceps to really lock it in, and then finishing with a row pattern. So we have a little bit of a bicep and a back exercise all tied into one. Once again, using that bungee option. Then moving into alternating with an isometric hold on the other side, taking advantage of that resistance housing, getting that feel. Moving to a lower version, so we're going to get some squat mechanics and some isometrics on the legs, alternating pull, right into the reciprocal pull. Now we're taking advantage of the body fight, working against yourself fully with a little bit of that bungee, a great move. This reciprocal pull down is a great way to kind of get that good core involvement as you lock in and pull in a reciprocal fashion, one against the other. A reciprocal press is a great way to work the push muscles from a lot of different body positions. One of my favorites is the split stance, but I also use the parallel stance quite a bit. You get the feel of the body working one side against the other. The core has to support all of the control of that. As we move into a split squat version of the reciprocal press, now we're tying the lower body into a little bit more, but still offering that coordination. We're getting some of the bungee and some of the body fight, then switching sides to get a little even stimulus of both sides working, not only through the legs, but also through the core and how it relates to the upper body. Tying that movement together, split squat, press, the reciprocal nature, letting the core support everything. Getting into some rotation here. Now you'll notice that I'm taking advantage of the bungee aspect here. I'm going to use the entire body. This is a full body rotation, so you'll see the feet pivot, the hips come with me, the lower body is helping the core rotate the bungee. The next step is going to be an alternating version of the same thing, but once again, the entire body is doing the work. So walking out, I'm going to take the bungee to its full length. There it just locked out. So what I have to do is work really hard just to keep that housing pulled all the way tight. So I have this banded or bungee fly that I'm working on, but I'm also really working to keep that bungee pulled as tight as I can. Switching sides, try to stay pretty strong throughout. Once again, locking out the max length of the bungee, getting back into those flies. The core, the chest, the arms, even the legs are all working just to keep myself in check and to not move while the movement happens. It's an interesting concept that really, after a few reps, gets pretty challenging. Once again, maxing it out. I'm going to try and find that good, strong balance through the legs and core. Now I'm going to scoop a little bit lower and bring the hands underneath a little bit more for a different angle and a little bit of a change. A push pattern from a parallel stance. Starting off with a two-arm push. Now, the goal is to try and keep the body as still as possible during this. So the bungee is trying to pull me back and I'm trying to push while keeping the body tight. I'm going to move into an alternating pattern, and this is done from a base standpoint of the arms next to the body. You can also do it from the opposite, where you start out in an extended position and then you alternate the press here. Same exact concept of getting that little bit of resistance through the housing, but now it's from a more difficult or extended bungee position. Moving right into that reciprocal press, that on-demand multi-mode training, which is one of my favorite things about it. Some banded back lunges. Now I've chosen a medium resistance here. I have my hands close to the body so everything's locked in, and the bands are wrapped around, giving me resistance, a little bit less there and a little bit more as I drive forward, trying to put a lot of the focus in the front leg. Now as we switch sides, you'll get a chance to see it from the other angle. The front leg once again is doing a lot of the work. Back side is pushing, but really try and focus on that glute to drive forward with the front side glute and leg. We want to make it a little bit harder. Easiest thing to do is straighten the arms. Same concept, but you'll notice the pitch of the body is a little bit more forward. So now I'm going to drive even more through that front side. The core, the arms all take a little bit more of the load, but the legs are still the star of the show here. Keep the body nice and tight. Really try and fire up as strongly and as firmly as you can. Once you get tired, you'll notice there'll be a little bit of this wobble. If you keep your arms and the straps off your shoulder, it's a little bit harder. If you put them against your shoulders so you anchored against the body, it's a little bit easier. I'm going to finish off with an alternating version. I'm starting to get a little tired here, so you can see I'm having to really work hard to keep everything aligned. The bungee really pulls at this length. If you want to make it a little bit easier, you can back up a little bit closer to the attachment, take a little resistance off. Split stance push, starting off with this alternating press from close to the body. Keep the legs nice and strong, body as still as you can, and work on good strong presses. Moves right into that nice change to the reciprocal press, where the body and the core really have to fight to keep everything still. Now we move to a higher intensity, the alternating press from that extended position, and then finish back with some double presses. Once again, strong body, strong push. One of my favorite ways to have the body sort of learn to work against each other is this fly reverse fly combo. So when one side is flying, the other side is reverse flying, and you're working against yourself, which makes it a great challenge. Reciprocal tricep extension, body's bent over a little bit, nice strong base, working one side against the other. Now from here, I like to try to go right into an alternating isometric from an extended or held position. This is not easy. It's a little bit more of an intermediate to advanced move, but is a nice one to play around with. You can always add a little bit of a double pulse with that little lockout and wave for a burnout. Half kneeling row to a high bicep eccentric. So a couple moves tied into one. Good strong row, squeeze the back, raise the arms, and then slowly lower using just the bicep. Row, raise, control. Some reciprocal pulling. This is going to start in a bent fashion with not much twist. Then I'm going to add some twist as the body starts to get involved. Still working side to side. One side pulls, the other side resists, and vice versa. Add a little bit of a stand for a change in angle, and then slowly back to the original position. A quadruped or hands and knees position with a little bit of a pullover hop, trying to control the tension there. Pull strong, good core, trying not to let the pull of the bungee get me out of position or form. An alternating isometric pull down from a modified push-up or plank position. So one of the things you're going to think about here, keep the body as still as you can. So as you release one arm, stay real strong and still throughout the body and core. Try to lock everything in. Arm stays straight. Pull from the body. Don't pull with the arms. Let the body make the pull. Light resistance from behind, overhead side bend stretch. Nice and easy. Using the bungee for a little bit of tactile feedback and resistance cueing in a stretch. So forward bend, shaking things out, a little bit of engagement in the lats and core, moving it around, little shake, activating, connecting, feeling, getting a little bit of cool down, moving a little bit more, shaking back and forth, trying to keep the spine nice and neutral, a little bit of core involvement, and done. A standing high curl from this front anchored position takes advantage of the bungee and the housing, particularly as we go to this alternating isometric, where one side holds nice and strong, the other one gives into a curl, and that resistance housing magnifies a little bit. Then we get into a little bit of that reciprocal curl to finish out. Posture walkbacks are a nice little challenge for the back, body, core, legs, arms. What you're going to do is you're going to think about pulling those shoulders and that back nice and strongly together. Then you walk through varied and going from little to increasing to max tension of the bungee. I'll throw a reset row in there at the top just to kind of give that extra little squeeze. Make sure I'm all the way back. Then walk into the bungee. Absorb it, pull it, squeeze. It's a little bit easier, it gets harder, keep pulling back. Re-squeeze. Once again, it gets a little bit easier, gets harder, hold it, finish with a row. An isometric pull over hold with a back lunge. So I'm thinking about keeping the arms nice and straight, and then at the top, pulling the shoulder blades back, good posture. A double banded one arm press is one of my favorite upper body and core exercises. Holding both handles in one arm, nice strong support of the legs, using the core and the upper body to push. As we switch legs, now we're coming to a same-sided press to the forward leg. This will give you a little bit of a different challenge from a core perspective, even up into the arms. Switching sides, you get a different look at it. You'll notice that the entire upper body is working all through the core as the leading. So although the press is the actual moving part, and the chest and shoulders are the moving muscles, the core actually does more than you even realize. Half kneeling position for a fly, taking advantage of that bungee resistance, leaning forward just a little bit, getting the abs involved, but still this is a chest and shoulder move. Arms stay straight but strong. The half kneeling press series can take a number of different functions or shapes. Here is an alternating isometric from that extended position. You'll see that if I keep the cables off the arm, not only is it more comfortable, but you get more resistance. The harder you push and the more you push, the more the bungee and the resistance housing works against you. The double press is a little bit more difficult because you have more ultimate tension, but it will challenge the entire body in a big fashion. Reciprocal pushing from that same setup, another great way to activate a little bit more core and to really challenge your body as you work against yourself, taking advantage of both the bungee and the housing. Now a single-sided repeated press, great way to finish. Standing snow angels with just a little bit of resistance, great way to loosen up. Sometimes I'll use this as a starting move, sometimes as a finishing move, sometimes right in the middle just to loosen up the shoulders, chest, and arms. Getting into a little bit of the wave training, what I'm trying to do here is take advantage of that weighted housing, and I'm going to try and create some waves, keeping the handles and the arms relatively still and creating a lot of tight tension that will get the housing to move up and down in a wave fashion. It definitely takes some coordination and is something that you learn it a little bit better the more you do it. Here I'm experimenting with some different angles, arm positions, and even arm extension. What you'll see is that I have to work pretty hard to keep the consistency of the wave. This is a learned skill, so take your time and practice, but have some patience with this one. A side lunge and row. Here I'm going to do an alternating side lunge and rowing the arm that is opposite of the direction or the leg that is side lunging. It's a nice little combo. Will challenge a lot of different things. Marching with a contralateral reciprocal pull. I'm not using a lot of tension here. This is more of a warm-up and coordination move. Just trying to keep in opposites. Pull as you raise, body working together, keeping good balance, nice good body control. An overhead tricep, a simple move with great benefit for the core and arms, starting with a double extension and then moving into another one that I like a lot, which is the reciprocal extension overhead. This one is all about control and trying to keep the posture and the core and the abs engaged in neutral the entire time. Alternating step, little pressure of the arms, good strong core. Overhead march with a rear resistance, so not a lot of tension here, just enough to get a little core engagement. I'm trying to drive up pretty good strong knees, but keep the body as still as I can. Arms stay strong and straight throughout.